This episode of Game On brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly, all streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/twit.
It's Sunday, February 19th, and my PS Vita makes me feel like a kid again. More specifically, it makes me feel like the kid I stole it from. Suck eggs, Timmy. Veronica has Vita the nuts out of her week so she can tell you the must-have games new owners shouldn't live without. Tim Schafer of Double Fine joins us to talk about his insanely successful Kickstarter and what it's like to raise $2 million on the internet without putting a webcam in your bathroom. Guess who's back in the Mother Hubbard house with some great games for your mother-loving mouth? Leah Laporte envelops you in a casual encounter. Hey, what do you mean the new Uncharted game on Vita's $50? I can send an actual Angry Bird to actual space for that kind of money. It's time for Game On!
Creepers, it is go time for Game On. I'm Brian Brushwood.
And I'm Veronica Belmont.
Hey, question. Have you ever bought a game twice? And how should I feel about it if I did?
You know, I don't know if I ever have.
You've never once bought a game twice?
Well, I mean, once you have the game, you have the game. Why do you need to buy it again?
Because
I don't understand
well,
the question.
For me, look, I've got Mass Effect fever. Very, very bad. I went to the doctor about it. He said, you need more Mass Effect. And so I went ahead and
I got a sickness, and the only cure is more Mass Effect.
Exactly. So I went ahead and I bought Mass Effect 1 because I never finished it on the console because I'm always on the road, and I wanted to experience it on the PC, so I bought Mass Effect 1 on Steam, and I paid like $20 for it, and I don't feel the least bit bad about it.
Now, do you feel any difference between playing it on console versus PC?
Oh,
like, do you like it better?
Massively better on the PC.
Really?
It's more interactive. It's more easy. If I want a rich, interactive storytelling experience, I will never do that on a console. Console is where you play party games. It's where you play You Don't Know Jack or Wii Sports, that kind of crap. If I want to get all the way into a game, it's going to be on the PC.
You just made like a really big oversimplification, I think.
Yes, I did.
I think you're going to go with that.
And you can say something to us about it at our email.
Yes, and just a reminder, we record live every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern at live.twit.tv, so be sure to tweet reactions to @TwitGameOn, and we will read them at the end of the show. And if you don't tweet, Chad doesn't talk. And if Chad doesn't talk, then his fans, the Chadicks, write us angry letters.
They're like a gang. They show up with they got the dark circles under their eyes and the red hair, and they're like, you didn't have no Chad on this time.
Where's the Chad?
All right, guys, when we knock this nonsense off, it is time to play Shut Up and Play. It's our LAN party where the Game On team plays you guys in the video games, and sometimes we wind up slow dancing. I didn't want to say it, is why I stumbled on that. With hosts from other gaming podcasts, you'll understand what I'm talking about in a minute. But tonight we are playing Team Fortress 2 because Veronica needs to get good at the game.
I do. I really, really need to get good at that game, so you guys need to help me because I am not very good at that game. So I need any help that I can get. And because you were too busy sketching pictures of Jeremy Lin on a unicorn, here is this week's worth of news in the system update. Do you play Skyrim on PS3? Have you noticed your memory choking up like your mom watching Titanic? Well, Bethesda admitted this week that they knew memory problems would be an issue for a, quote, small percentage of players, unquote. How do you know if you're affected? Here is a quick test. If you're angry that Bethesda knew about the problem and released the game anyway, you're affected. Good news, though. Patch 1.4 should fix your problem. Hopefully.
The smell of indie awesomeness is in the air. Yes, friends, it's Humble Bundle time. To celebrate the occasion, Minecraft masterminds Mojang went on an epic coding spree and made a game on livestream, no less, that was completely conceived by fans. The result? It's a real-time strategy shoot-'em-up with a steampunk ancient Egypt theme. You heard that right. If you missed it, no worries, there's another live jam coming up with the Oxeye Game Studios. They'll be crafting a dungeon crawler beat-'em-up set in a post-apocalyptic World War II. For all the deets, head to humblebundle.com and donate until your face falls off.
Bad news for people who didn't fall asleep watching The Secret World of Arrietty this weekend. If you were looking forward to the release of the Japanese fantasy RPG Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch on PS3, you're going to have to wait. In fact, you might as well just put it on your Christmas list and be done with it. Level 5 announced the game was moving from an early 2012 release date to winter 2012. No specific reason was given for the delay, but we're sure it's magical.
A few weeks ago, Origin offered anyone pre-ordering Mass Effect 3 before March 5th a free copy of Battlefield 3. Turns out that March 5th is really their code for last Thursday. That was when, with no warning, Origin tweeted out that the offer was over. Sound familiar? EA previously pulled similar jackassery with the Battlefield 3 pre-order deal that would have given early birds a code for Dead Space 2, which they also canned early. At least then they offered the warning that they only had a limited number of codes. This time, they're just trolling.
So how are Tim Schafer and Double Fine going to spend the $2 million and counting they've raised so far for their adventure game? Audibly. Schafer announced to backers this week that the game would now be able to afford English-language voice actors, and the game text would be translated into Italian, Spanish, German, and French. If people keep giving them money, we suggest a gilded foosball table.
So I think we can agree that handling it with just a tweet saying, oh, by the way, that offer take backsies is about the worst way they could have handled it. EA seems to have a persistent PR problem. How could they have handled this? I mean, granted, maybe they had only so many promotional copies to give away and they ran out and somebody panicked and they pulled back on the order. What could they have done and what could they do now that the cat's already out of the bag and they've already said backsies?
That's the first thing I thought of, is that why didn't they have a limited number? If they thought that was even possible that this was going to happen,
sure,
then they were going to have to say, oh, wait, okay, we've given away too many at this point. Why didn't they just do that in the first place?
Well,
They
and
would have
beyond
saved
that,
themselves a lot of trouble.
You know, in the internet age, you've noticed there are companies who are very savvy with how they handle the demon hordes of the internet. Obviously, Double Fine knows how to walk that line and please everyone. And, you know, EA almost moves like a robotic monster. It's like the Death Star comes rolling in.
And I just don't see why they can't just honor it. I mean, it's not like they have to send out box copies of every single version of the game. They're just bits. Just give people the game.
That's true. There's certainly no actual scarcity there.
Surely it must be worth the goodwill of the fans to just make that up in lost earnings.
I feel like if they just did that now, they would have that GoDaddy problem, where even though GoDaddy did turn around on its position with SOPA, people are still mad at GoDaddy because they had been previously mad. I don't know. I feel like they'd have to come up with something special. They'd have to have somebody actually relate to the fans at home and say, look, here's what happened, here's why we had to do it that way.
I don't know. I think gamers, I was going to say gamers forgive easy, but we don't.
No, they do.
We don't.
Sure they do.
I don't know. I mean, as long as they keep going out with great games like they are, I'm okay with it, but
right,
it does kind of reflect poorly on them at this point to go back on something that they promised.
Well, especially when, again, they have a PR problem. And when you have a PR problem, that's when you have to go above and beyond in order to win back people you've annoyed.
I feel like big companies like this, though, they always have this problem. I think every huge company has had this kind of situation from time to time.
I don't agree with that, because
Sony's had that problem. Microsoft has had that problem.
Steam has had major hacking and major release of credit card information. And
but they're a big-ish company, but they're not as big as EA.
But they are the biggest platform for gaming in the entire world. They're bigger than any one console. They are the biggest of the big when it comes to
But I
gaming
think they don't have to answer to people in the same way, maybe.
Nah.
I feel like they have more of an indie vibe to them as a company.
Again, that's not by accident. They curate that image by responding to people and feeling like they're approachable. And that's something that EA hasn't done so far.
Well, I want to know what you guys think out there, so let us know. TwitGameOn is the Twitter account. Let us know how you feel about that whole thing. And hey, it's Vita fever. Should you catch it or get yourself inoculated? We discussed that in The Score. All right, so I have a Vita.
Yeah!
Yay!
Let me see. I want to touch it.
Don't get your grubby little hands all over it.
Sorry, grubby hands are grubbing all over.
It is kind of a fingerprint magnet, but what would you expect? Pretty much every gadget out there these days is. In fact,
you go.
Oh, you can't get past my password.
Oh, no, your password.
All right, I'll do
Here,
it.
show
All right,
Veronica's password on there.
So, first of all, this thing is pretty awesome. Oh! Katamari started up right away.
Here, I'm going to play Katamari.
All right.
How long have you had it?
I've had it for about a week now, and I've spent a good amount of time with it. I really enjoy playing with it. Now, I've talked about on the show before that I'm not a big handheld gamer. I don't really carry around my DS. I don't play games on my iPhone. I kind of play games on my iPad, but it's not really something I think to do often. But since I've had this, I've wanted to have it with me everywhere, which is really interesting. I mean, the 5-inch display is just unbelievably gorgeous to look at, full stop. Like, there's no arguing that in my mind at all. And the analog controls, I think, are absolutely amazing. I find myself using the analog controls a lot more than any of the touch controls. I mean, it's got the front touch display, it has the rear touch display, but I haven't found a game yet where it feels totally necessary.
Right.
I have a pretty big pile of games to work my way through right now,
Do you think
but so
that's
far.
maybe by design? Because obviously that's what sets this apart from an Android device or an iOS device, is that you have physical controls. So it seems to me if I'm Sony and I've got the controls, I'm going to make sure to actually focus on using them.
No, absolutely. I mean, that is definitely what sets it apart, and that's one of the reasons why I would want to carry this around with me to play, as opposed to you know, using up all my battery life on my iPhone playing games.
Now, it's a big beast. Is it tough to carry it around?
It's huge. Yes, it's absolutely huge. I mean, I'm not sure, actually. I think it's bigger than a regular PSP. And it's definitely not pocket size. That's one of the big problems.
I'll fit that in my
I mean,
pocket.
I carry a purse with me, so it's not so bad. All right, you've got big rear pockets.
That's not bad. You can kind of fit that in there.
Please don't sit on that.
No, I will not sit on that. Sorry. But it's roughly pocket size.
Yeah, it's no, not at all.
All right, so run me through the games. What did you think of the ones you played?
All right, so far I've been playing Uncharted, The Golden Abyss, and it's a great game. I mean, it has the same great story as a lot of the full version Uncharted games. It's a real game.
Well, I was about to say, does this feel like if this came out for the PS3 and it was called the next sequel in the Uncharted franchise, how would you feel about it? Would you feel annoyed?
I might feel a little annoyed if they didn't come out with a full console version. But this takes place before any of the console games, so it's like an earlier story in a way. And what I do like about the touch controls is that if you're doing a lot of climbing and a lot of jumping from cliff to cliff, you can actually trace the direction that you want to go in, so you don't have to do every single hop, skip, and jump.
Right.
So unless you're a big fan of that kind of control, it might take away from that, but I think this makes it a lot easier. And you get to do a lot of fun things like you can search for treasures, you can take etchings of things that you find. You're basically building up your guidebook, that book that you carry around with you through the first 3 Uncharted games, and look back for all the information on the artifacts you're gathering. So you do a lot of that stuff. And overall, the story's great, the characters are great. It's $50 though.
Yeah, we'll talk about that some more in the Flame War. They are expensive. And of course, all the games are going to range from $30 to $50. What about Katamari?
Katamari. So Katamari is one of my favorite PlayStation games of all time, pretty much.
Yeah.
And this one is no exception to that rule.
Just tell me it has the song.
It has a few songs in there. I feel like this one is even more wacky than the original games, in a way.
Unnecessarily wacky?
I don't want to say unnecessarily.
Like in your face wackiness?
Love this.
Like, sorry, Dad, we're just wacky and this is how we roll.
We're wacky and crazy.
This is how we roll
I get it.
Katamari,
I see what you did there. That's very nice. But it's got some great new levels. It has a lot of interactivity. It's got these candies that you can earn and trade in for other stuff. And the levels are really cool. You can use the rear touch controls to stretch and widen and change your Katamari ball as you go through different levels. It's got some neat tricks, like in one level, you want to make the right kind of calories. You want to eat healthy food instead of junk food, so you try to roll up all the healthy food. And the touch controls were pretty easy to get used to. This is one situation where I found that I did tend to use them a little bit more than the analog controls, because you swipe quickly to make the ball roll quickly, you tap to make it stop completely, and then you do your thumbs like side by side next to each other to make it kind of turn and move around. So that was cool. I liked that part. I wish I had more gyroscopic controls, though. I kind of wanted to be able to tilt the PlayStation and make the ball roll, because you can do that in Uncharted.
Okay.
If you tilt it, it kind of leans the map a little bit, and then Drake can jump to something more easily.
Oh, wow.
So I liked that. I thought that was a really cool addition to that kind of gameplay mechanic. But Katamari, great, solid game, really fun to play with. And
pretty much more of the same. If you dug the previous incarnations, you're going to dig this one.
And then the other game that I was playing was Luminous.
Never heard of it.
Luminous, Electronic Symphony. Luminous has been around for a while on the PSP, and it's a great musical kind of Tetris-style game. In fact, that's one of the things that got me caught up all the time, because I kept thinking of it like Tetris. So I tried to make the blocks go in a certain way, and then you have to get it into a square, as you can see from this demo. And I was doing it all wrong. So it took a while for me to get used to that gameplay style. My brain is too slow for it. But then there's a lot of great little added features, like you get these special kinds of blocks that will rotate all the blocks at the same time. So you think that's bad at first, and then when you get to the end and you're getting real caught up high on the list of when your blocks get really high, it rotates things, and then suddenly all these blocks appear that you wouldn't expect to see normally. So that fixes part of the problem for you. And the music is great, too.
I was about to say, does it play music interactive real time? It looks like it's almost a music game.
No, it's not really like that. It's not like a Guitar Hero-ish kind of thing.
Well, no, but I was thinking more like Rez. Remember how Rez would have interactive music to it as you did the puzzle elements as you were playing?
Not so much. It's more like you go through, and every level you go up, it adds a different theme to it, and you have avatars that kind of change your gameplay style and what kind of blocks you get. So overall, it's a super fun game, too.
Cool.
And I had a blast playing with this one, but I think my favorite so far is probably Uncharted.
Yeah.
Because the more time I can spend with Drake, the better.
I know. You are so sexied up for the Drake.
Shut up! You're making me blush. Shut up.
Drake might be watching.
He might be watching
He doesn't
right
need
now.
to know
I don't
that
want
I've got
him
a
to
crush
know.
on him.
All right, so the PlayStation Vita is out February 22nd with the Wi-Fi only edition costing $249.99 and the Wi-Fi plus 3G version, which is the one I have, at $299.99. As for the games, as I mentioned, Uncharted: The Golden Abyss is $49.99, Luminous Electronic Symphony is $39.99, and Touch My Katamari is $29.99.
All right, and I'll tell you what, no matter what you think about your precious Vita, it doesn't mean that the whole concept of standalone portable gaming consoles are on death's door. So says me, and we will debate it right now in the Flame War.
Joining us as our guest umpire and to help shed knowledge on Sony's rumored plans for the Vita OS is the host of Twit's Daily Tech Roundup show, Tech News Today, and noted birdwatcher, Tom Merritt.
Birdwatch? Oh, the Cardinals.
The Cardinals. Oh, was that a sports thing? All right, so we're going to go back and forth and argue some
I don't
points.
need this.
You probably
I don't know.
don't need
It may get a little physical up in here. You may need to be ready to protect your face.
I may throw things at you if you don't agree with me.
I'll throw it back.
So
all right, so usually what we do before the show, we had people vote in a straw poll, strawpoll.me/321, and to say whether or not they thought that that gaming was or was not dead. Do we have those results, Chad? Are we able to show that? He's calling them up right now. But we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of us, physically assaulting each other and then having them decide, we're going to have you act as judge to officiate, make sure everything's fair.
Also, I should have worn robes.
You don't own robes, though. Or do
this
you?
one's
Actually?
better,
I don't know.
think, for this particular scenario.
All right, I'm going to start off. With the easiest thing here, and you can tell here right now: is the handheld market doomed? You're crazy, and your hair is crazy. Is currently 585 votes. Death is upon them. 433. Clearly, the audience goes into this believing that there is a place for handheld consoles. But understand, I'm talking about dedicated handheld consoles, and the problem is, with as cheap as the games are, most people who have smartphones have a fantastic platform for rich games. And the fact is, the price on the Vita is crazy. $300 just for the unit. Then you got to shell out $50, $350 before you start playing the latest Uncharted. How many iPhone games, how many iPad games could you buy for that?
Okay, well, first of all, if you're not getting it on contract, an iPhone is more expensive than a Vita. So I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay, wow. All
Plus,
right.
there's a lot more development time and production that goes into these games, I would say, than an iOS game. They're a lot deeper, they're a lot more expansive, they're longer, and I think they give a richer gameplay experience. I think they're worth the money.
Okay, but again, and this is my one rebuttal I'm going to throw out there, is even if that is the case, that makes them better. Does it make them 30 times better, as the price would seem to indicate? They're not 30 times better. They're maybe 50% better. But then they're not even in the same league against stuff that's... we savaged a game because they had the audacity to charge $2 whole for it in the iOS market.
All right, okay. I will concede... Tom. Maybe. All right, I'm not going to say anything until Tom says what he's saying.
Well, she just conceded, so that's easy. And Brian took an illegal rebuttal. Pretty close play at the plate here. Veronica made some good counter-arguments, but the problem is price rules all. And Veronica, you were showing off a little dropping block game on the PS Vita.
It's more than that.
But that's the kind of game I'll pay 99 cents for on a platform, so I'm going to give this one to Brian.
All right. I understand it is on the expensive side. I definitely get that argument.
Okay, so second argument here. Convenience trumps fidelity, and I'll explain what I mean by that. But keep in mind that, yes, this is a superior gaming experience in every way. However, it's a pain in the butt to carry around. It's gigantic. You were talking about how it doesn't even fit in your pocket. So physically, even if you just gave this to everyone, half the people aren't going to carry it with them all the time. And yes, let's say the same game comes out for both platforms. You're not going to want to bother to pull out the Vita and load up the game. And physical media, this thing is still using physical media. That's adorable.
It's not just physical media. It's physical media and downloadable content, I'll have you know, by the way.
But what's so great about...
Yes, okay, yeah, it is large. It's large and in charge. But this is basically a console at this point. This thing is so turbo powerful. The games that it plays look phenomenal. Like, I mean, this is an immersive experience like no other handheld gaming platform we've seen ever in history. And yes, technology is getting better and better, but I think for the size, And the weight, I think it makes a really good gaming device.
Again, I'm not doubting that it is
And
the
plus,
most beautifully...
the controls on an iPhone are terrible.
Oh, yes, I will concede you on that.
I cannot deal with playing long, expansive games just using touch controls. I need analog controls.
I will concede that the Vita is the most finely gilded telegraph I have ever seen. It is absolutely adorable.
I see what you did
And
there.
it's also filling a need that's already being met. 80% of the gaming experience you can already get on your iPad, your iPhone, or your Android device, and there's not a big enough group of people who will flock to this device to get that superior gaming experience.
And also, yes, maybe I like to carry around fewer gadgets, but the fact of the matter is the battery life on this thing sucks.
That's true.
And if I want to play games while I'm on a flight, maybe for 4 hours.
I was about to say, I don't know that you should have brought up battery life when you're holding the Vita, because it doesn't sound like the reports are very good on the Vita's battery life.
All right, so you can get, if you've got all your network stuff on, I mean, you wouldn't do that on a flight anyway, but you could probably play a game for about 4 hours.
That's not very
But
long.
that's better than this.
Tom?
Better than this.
I gotta say, the throw beat the runner here. Brian starts making fun of physical media, saying, look, we all have phones, we don't want to carry two things. But Veronica slid in under the tag by pointing out, like, if you don't care about gaming or good controls, that's great. But if you want to be a gamer, you want the PS Vita. It's got a great
Appeal
screen,
to the
and
base.
it does have the ability to download your games and not just use physical media. So I got to give this one to Veronica.
Okay, well then this is my last ditch thing. The way a console thrives is when it has the games. The way they have games is that they thrive already. You've got this vicious circle here. How many great ideas have never flourished because nobody developed for them? If I'm a developer and I'm going to choose, either I could develop for Android or for iOS or for the PlayStation Vita. Why on earth should I go for the Vita? The numbers have been awful in Japan. The numbers, meanwhile, there was a pre-install base. That's where the action is. The future, iOS is not the future of handheld gaming. It's the now of handheld gaming. It's where all the action is, and what nobody expected is that iOS and Android devices could provide a very rich RPG experience. They could create novel games that you have the ability to bring indie developers, give them a level playing field, and I think gaming is going to be more exciting and better on handheld devices.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we talking platform?
Yes.
You mean like the platform that developers are already building for on PSN, PlayStation 3, the original PSP? That platform has been done. People know how to develop for that platform. There's already indie developers creating games for PSN. The development system is already in place. I would say just as much as in iOS. And serious developers already know how to make games for
How many, 25 billion apps downloaded on iOS? How can you even put that in the same ballpark?
I'm just saying.
Okay. Look, and again, I'm not saying
there's a platform, and it's a good platform.
I'm not saying that the Vita's not wonderful. I'm just saying that, and I'm even going to concede, they did the right thing. They responded to the entry of smartphones into the game by moving farther to the side to appeal to the hardcore gamers. But what I'm saying is that number of people who are hardcore gamers, so dedicated that they want a dedicated console in addition to the smartphone that they're lugging around, is not going to be enough to sustain the device. And I think that this is a closing window. And what will happen is...
At this price, you don't think it's sustainable?
$299
you got
for
enough
3G?
people?
No, I'm telling you, the iPad 3 is going to come out in a few months, and it's going to be probably just as strong, or if not close to it.
I think there's a massive hardcore gamer market, and I think that they will want this device.
I believe they will,
and I think that the gaming press has been impressed by this device so far. I was impressed.
They're not blown away. It's an incremental improvement, and what they need is they need to knock it out of the park.
Like I mentioned, I was not a handheld gamer. I've played a lot of PlayStation games before. This is the first handheld device that I've actually wanted to bring with me places.
Well,
and I don't have to say that.
All right.
You know, it's like, I think this thing is awesome. I was super impressed by it.
What say you, Tom?
Well, this is a close one, and it kind of depends on what kind of gamer you're talking about. But the compelling arguments for me are price, because an iPhone's going to cost you $2,000 over the life, and you can pick up the PS Vita and be done with it at $299.
Well, but you're already going to have an iPhone.
You don't get to rebuttal with me.
You don't rebut the judge.
You're not arguing balls and strikes with me.
All right.
And the platform, you can't play Drake on Android. You can't play Drake on iOS. The platform is still good. I think the key phrase that stuck out to me is it's a closing window, but it isn't closed yet. So this is maybe the last great hurrah, but I still think it's the winner.
Okay, so two things. First of all, if you guys want to chime in, hit us up at strawpoll.me/322 for the after after your
new
feedback.
straw poll.
The new straw poll.
Yeah,
strawpoll.me/322. But Tom, you said some news about on Tech News Today, talking about a possible back-end victory with the Vita. What were you guys talking about?
But yeah, there's a rumor out there that Sony might be transporting this operating system over to the mobile platform because Sony, if you don't know, broke up with Ericsson. They did not spend Valentine's Day together.
No.
They are not making phones together. And the reason Sony did that is they want to make the phones themselves. They don't want to make them in a partnership with someone else anymore. And everybody thinks, well, now that they've finished that breakup and they're moving phone production in-house, the next step is to take the PlayStation operating system and port it over to the phone in a better way than we've seen it done so far, not in an Android port way. But this might be the operating system that they're saying, hey, this does pretty much everything we could do if we put it on a phone, so all we got to do is put it on a phone. We'll see if that's true.
I would very much like that.
Now, yeah, that would bring me back, and that would actually
that would make
validate
this
my
entire
point
argument
too.
moot, wouldn't
Yes,
it? Yeah.
exactly.
And just beside that point, a lot of the stuff that I forgot to mention, like I really like a lot of the geolocation stuff that's built in. The near technology that they have in here is really good. I love the integration with PSN and being able to message and talk with my friends and have parties with my friends. It just seems like a really well-rounded device right now, and I'm excited to see where they take it with the technology.
Well, that's cool. Well, one more time, strawpoll.me/322 for those of you guys watching live, and then we'll visit those results at the end of the show. But when the Vita goes on sale for the public on Tuesday, everyone at Sony will be clenching up their cheeks in the hopes that it doesn't end up on this list in 3 years, because here are the 5 biggest console flops in history on this week's leak sheet.
Initiate countdown.
Talking about the greatest console flops in gaming history. 1989, 2 handheld consoles come out, the Game Boy and the Atari Lynx. Pretty much the same thing, except for the Lynx had a color screen, rich sound, and the ability to network up to 4 units wirelessly. It was also ambidextrous, allowing players to flip the unit so the D-pad and buttons were exactly where they wanted them. So naturally, it went unloved as a cat made of poison, while the Game Boy was crowned undisputed king. Why? Probably because it was as big as a boogie board and thick enough to murder a hobo. But it will always be remembered for the features.
The Atari Lynx sound quality is so good, it makes every game seem more realistic.
That's right, sounds so good you won't notice you've been murdered in a hail of gunfire. The Philips CDI. There is literally nothing good to say about the Philips CDI. Overpriced at $700, unfocused in its content ranging from the Bernstein Bears to an adult-only version of the game show Joker's Wild, and several of the most embarrassing appearances of a few legendary gaming characters. Thanks to an old deal with Nintendo, Philips had the rights to produce titles from the Zelda and Mario franchises. To show off the full video capabilities of the hardware, they were packed with horrifying cutscenes. How bad, you wonder?
I wonder what's for dinner.
Oh boy, I'm so hungry I could eat an Octorok.
Luckily, the CDI sold under 600,000 units in its entire life cycle and was quickly forgotten, like the time I ate that Octorok. The Gizmondo. You might not be familiar with the Gizmondo, but it easily has the most compelling story out of the entire bunch here. Released in 2005, the Gizmondo from Tiger featured a few cool ideas, including a mobile ad platform that they hope would subsidize the cost of hardware, and a few decent games with highly questionable names like Sticky Balls. 1 year later, it was revealed that the masterminds behind the console, Stefan Eriksson and Carl Freer, were using the money from Tiger to fund an elaborate lifestyle, including yachting, $1,000 lap dances, and a fleet of European sports cars, including one Enzo Ferrari, which Eriksson crashed at 162 miles an hour on the PCH. Meanwhile, the Gizmondo languished and died. Better to burn bright and disappear than fade away in Hotel Mario, I guess. The Virtual Boy. It's hard to overstate just how obsessed the early 90s was with virtual reality. You had Lawnmower Man and that Aerosmith video where the kid hides as Polygon and Alicia Silverstone while riding a motorcycle. You remember that part, right? So 1995 rolls around and Nintendo decides to capitalize on it with the Virtual Boy. Finally, 3D gaming and a goofy-looking visor we've always dreamed of. In less than a year, Nintendo pulls the plug. The gameplay was subpar, the graphics weren't 3D in any kind of revolutionary way, and the monochromatic visuals were uninspiring to say the least. It didn't sell at $180 nor at any of the price drops afterwards, as consumers became aware that Alicia Silverstone was not a playable level on any of the titles. Number 1, the Sega Dreamcast. Dreamcast gets a bad rap as the console that killed Sega's hardware ambitions. Sure, it was the straw that broke the camel's back, but before you turn up your nose, dig on this. First, the Dreamcast is widely understood to be far ahead of its time. It was the pioneer of online console gaming, and it featured inventive, awesome titles like Crazy Taxi and Jet Grind Radio. And while it would ultimately get overtaken by the PlayStation 2, in all ways, this was the true creative successor to the original Genesis. The real culprit for this murder lies in the rogues gallery that came between the Genesis and the Dreamcast. In just the year and a half it was available, the Dreamcast sold about 10.3 million units. That's well over half of the combined 16 million unit sales of the Sega CD, Saturn, and 32X combined. Sega ultimately needed a massive breakout with the Dreamcast, and it never got the chance to breathe because it wasn't a phenomenon right out of the gate. Good night, sweet Dreamcast, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.
I love how many people in the chat room were like, Gizmondo? What's a Gizmondo? I've never even heard of that.
And on the flip side, the moment they heard Dreamcast, they're like, you leave Dreamcast alone.
Rest in peace, Dreamcast.
I know.
Hey, do you have a favorite failed console memory? Hit us up at TwitGameOn on Twitter with your reaction right now, and we'll read the best in a few minutes. Or if you'd like to help us with future lists, keep an eye on twitgameon.reddit.com, where we crowdsource all of our fabulous knowledge.
And just like that, the bearded ghost of Rutherford B. Hayes is whispering in my ear that our show is almost half over, and we have not much more to come. Actually, we have a lot more to come. He's not wearing pants. Veronica sat down with visionary developer Tim Schafer at Double Fine to talk about the new point-and-click Kickstarter adventure, and you knew he couldn't stay away for long. Double L Cool L saunters back into your life with another casual encounter. But alas, like minstrels of old, we have patrons, so we have to pay tribute to their generosity right now. All right, look, if you're watching this show, it's because you got yourself an Xbox 360, a Nintendo Wii, a PS3, an iPhone, an iPad, some kind of computer you're playing games on. Guess what? You can also watch thousands of TV and movie shows by heading on over to Netflix.com/twit and sign up for your free 30-day trial. You know what Netflix is. Netflix is only the greatest thing since, what, humanity? The orgasm? Gummy bears? And they're even getting better. Not only do they have this giant back catalog of stuff available for instant streaming, but they're creating their new content. For example, House of Cards coming out soon with Kevin Spacey in there. You guys love Netflix. And I want you to show your love for Twit by heading on over to Netflix.com/twit and getting your friends on there as well. So, of course, Tim Schafer is already a legend to most of you guys with credits including Day of the Tentacle, Monkey Island, and Grim Fandango on his resume. And that was before he launched a Kickstarter that could very well change publishing as we know it. We sat down with him at Double Fine HQ so he could listen to us with his ears and answer our questions with his mouth.
Hey everyone, we are here at Double Fine in San Francisco, speaking with the fabulous Tim Schafer.
Fabulous?
Fabulous.
Oh, okay. I wasn't planning on being fabulous, but...
So you guys have blown up with this Kickstarter thing. How has that been for you?
It's been a little surprising. You know, if you thought we were asking for too much money, everyone said that's too much, and then we upped it. First we were just going to ask for like $200,000, so that is a lot of money to ask for.
It is.
Just fans to give you without any sort of like promise of anything except for a game. And then we upped it because we thought, well, we can't make it for that little. And then I thought we'd do it, and the first night maybe we'd get up to 2,000, and maybe at the end of 30 days we'd meet our goal of 400,000. And we met our goal within 8 hours of launching, which was so exciting. I mean, we were just sitting there as soon as we posted, and it was like $30 as soon as we and we're like, that's interesting. And then we just couldn't get away from like the F5 button the rest of the night.
Yeah. Now that you've gotten it's over 1.8 million at this point, do you feel like the pressure is really on to make something absolutely incredible? Not that you weren't already planning on doing that, but now that you've gone like 4 times your original amount. Like,
I got to take down the old plans for the crummy game.
Exactly.
Crummy game.
Over.
Let's have some bad music and let's get some bad puzzles in there. Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Like, I mean, we never planned to, we always want to make everything great, and so we were not. But now I feel like we it's not going to be like for a smaller budget. I guess it would be, a small game that maybe was not up to the same standard as the classic games that are surrounding us on the walls. Can you call your game you worked on classic? Does that sound really snobby?
No, you can't.
Well, I had a partner on, that's Ron's game, so I can call it a classic. Okay, good. But not that one. But that anyway. Now the budgets are comparable or higher than some of these games, even when you adjust them for inflation. So it's like, it now isn't like, when we did Hostmaster and the Conquest of Humor, which is a web browser graphic adventure on our website, just to announce that I was going to host this award show. That was just kind of a reference or a nostalgic like spoof of those old games, and that was funny. But this can't be that anymore. Now it has to actually be one of them. You know, it has to be, if you like those games before, you'll like this one. But that's more fun, because that means there's no holding back. We're just going to go for it and make it an amazing game.
What can you tell us about the game so far? Anything?
It's going to be a point-and-click graphic adventure. And that's all we know. I mean, I've been putting off really brainstorming and designing it, because we're making this documentary with 2-Player Productions to document, I think, not just the production of a game, but the creative process. Because I think that's what a lot of people are interested in, is how do you take something out of thin air and like bring it all the way to the end? Because I think that is a weird thing about like the blank page. You know, that's just an interesting problem to have. There's nothing, and then you got to come up with something, and that's a scary thing for a lot of people. Whether you're writing a book or writing a song or writing a game, there's just like this process of pulling ideas out of thin air that, you know, I've thought a lot about what that process means, and I think it's a great opportunity to actually document that.
Would you say that this is the future of video game development, putting all the power into the hands of the fans and the creatives to make something from scratch and to bypass the whole system that used to exist?
It's not the future, Veronica. It's here now.
It's
here now. It's changed everything. I mean, that's a good question. I think a large publisher like EA might not, they raised what? $1 million or whatever. I spent that on lunch.
Have you had any kind of backlash from the gaming establishment about this?
From the gaming establishment or the gaming
anything
players?
From the big publishers or you mentioned EA, for example. People who are kind of being bypassed in this process. Are they worried?
No, I haven't had any sort of negative reaction from publishers and stuff. We work with publishers, my statement about the Kickstarter project and going around publishers is not to say that they're crazy or evil. I don't need to say that, because I'm not saying that. It's just that for this particular project, this was the right way to go. I think they probably think it's fine, because they didn't have any interest themselves in making that kind of project, most of them, and so I think it's a win-win for everybody. Until we take over.
Now, you and Notch's name have come up a lot recently.
We're not the same person.
I know you're not
We're not the same person. We've been in several places at the same time.
Is there any kind of news that you can give us, or any future projects that you might be working on with the Minecraft folks?
I would like to announce right now that I don't have any news for you. Sorry.
That's okay.
That was a big surprise too, and we were just about to launch the Kickstarter thing. Mm-hmm. So here we go, and then the news was like, Notch wants to fund Psychonauts 2. I was like, this is confusing, because that turned out to be a big Twitter explosion on its own, and I had to kind of we didn't want to put off the launch, so we just launched it too. And it's two strange stories about non-traditional game funding coming up at once. It was kind of exciting to have them both going on. He's a cool guy, and he has means and resources, and we were talking to him to find out what we want to do, because it is a great offer, and it's just we need to talk through what it realistically means, but it could happen.
A lot of exciting stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a lightning round of audience questions.
Where does a lightning come in?
I'm not exactly sure. It just sounds.
Is there like an electrical problem? Okay. Sorry.
Medicinal Purpose asks, a Kinect-like interface seems like it would be perfect for a point-and-click game. Also, imagine the interactivity that could be built into the puzzles. My question would be if the potential increase in development costs to include this type of functionality is too cost-prohibitive. If so, is there a perceived tipping point in developmental costs on the horizon? Wait, does that make sense?
It doesn't have to make sense. It's the lightning round.
It's lightning
round.
Not
about...
Just say what you feel.
Yeah. You're going to add the effects later, right?
Later.
Oh, man, that was loud.
I think the question is would
he
you
saying
add
that Kinect games are more expensive? Because they're not more expensive, really, than other games.
I think that's what he's asking. Would it be too cost-prohibitive to add a Kinect-like interface in a point-and-click game?
We've actually done prototypes of using Kinect to do something like adventure games and stuff like that. That's just some R&D tests. I mean, I think actually I wouldn't go point-and-click on Kinect, just because, with Happy Action Theater, we were trying to do something really different with Kinect, and I think that's an important thing, is that you really start from the beginning and think about what a game could be or not a game, just like what's an experience you can do with that technology. And that's where the best games come from, instead of adapting another genre to Kinect. And so when you play Happy Action Theater, it's designed to not rely on any old game mechanics or anything like that. So, but there's this one point on the stage where you can select with a spotlight, you can select which stagehand you want to do the activity for, and it kind of shows that is like almost the hardest part of it, is actually using your hand like a cursor. And so I'm just saying, on Kinect, using your hand like a cursor is not the best use of Connect. I think the best use of Connect is when your full body is engaged. And I think you would start at the beginning and say, okay, let's make an adventure game, but instead of point and click, it's like dance and jump or whatever. Like, we want to do a dance and jump adventure game. Like, that's a whole new genre. So
there's your next big idea.
Yeah, I just announced it. Dance and jump adventure coming soon on Kickstarter. A lot of exclusives in this interview.
I know. We're very lucky.
Now, lightning.
Our next question comes from Saint Martin, I think. Are you going to make this adventure game a complete nostalgia trip, or do you want to see if you can take the genre a step further? In other words, should we expect a classic LucasArts-style adventure, or something a bit more experimental?
Interesting. That's an interesting question, because on the one hand, we're always trying to do something new and original, and when we made those classic adventures, we were always trying to change them, like take the verbs out or change the way you interacted with them. But also, this was funded by people who wanted something like those old graphic adventures. So I don't want to pursue something so new that it's no longer the thing they were asking for, but also it's not a dead genre. You know, I don't want to treat it like it's a museum or a nostalgia piece where we're just like, hey, let's pretend that it's, 1990 and we're making, I want to do something that is fresh and new and actually reaches new people, but it is still has all the charm that those old games had.
It seems like the casual gaming market has just exploded in the States in the past couple of years. So maybe now is an even better time for that genre to come up. It's more accessible. More people are playing video games that used to not consider themselves gamers. So maybe
I think you're saying we were just way ahead of our time. Is what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess that's probably what it is.
A Clue No wants to know, Tim, how does it feel to be so awesome? Also, any chance of kickstarting a Brutal Legend sequel?
No. I mean, I don't think so, because that was an expensive game. I don't know, but maybe. I mean, hopefully someone will cut this on YouTube with me accepting my $30 million Kickstarter funding someday and make me look foolish but rich. I think that would be hard to do. I'm open. I mean, obviously, I've been surprised by what we could do with Kickstarter, so I'm not the best expert on the potential for it. And the first part of that question was,
how does it feel to be so awesome?
Oh, it's hard. It's really hard to be so awesome all the time, because people are always saying how awesome you are. Lightning round over.
All right, cool. Thanks so much for taking the time to answer our questions today, and we're really excited to see what comes up with the Kickstarter project.
Thanks for having me. It was my great pleasure. Me too. True shake. Dun 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 dun. It's official.
Ding.
Dude, did he actually have those
He's amazing with the lightning.
That's incredible.
Uncanny. Uncanny. Well, there are still 22 days to go on Double Fine's Kickstarter. And remember, only backers get access to the beta. So head over to Kickstarter.com and search for Double Fine to throw your coin their way. Oh, and by the way, we actually have some cell phone video of when Double Fine crossed the $1 million mark. Can you roll that, Chad?
That must have been nothing less than pure electricity. Like, this is a moment that they will remember for the rest of their lives, and it's so well deserved. These guys had this payday coming for the longest time, and to just see, it's like the end of the Muppet movie, you know?
That's absolutely right. That's so great. Man, it was like distorting. They were so excited.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. I don't know about you, but all this PC and console talk has me all wound up. It's time to dim the lights, forget my inhibitions, and pour myself into another casual encounter.
Ooh.
It's time for another casual encounter.
Hello. I knew it was you from 50 paces. I've memorized your scent. Sit down, relax. Your thumb thumping has you ragged. Excuse me, if you will, while I wet my beak. Ephemera, bring Daddy his medicine. Yeah, it's good. More. Thanks, Dollface. Little known fact, LL stands for locked and loaded. Now, where was I? Oh, yes! It was 1991, and I just returned from a midnight showing of City Slickers with a bleary-eyed John C. Dvorak. All of a sudden, the phone rings, and it's none other than a stammering, panicked Tim Berners-Lee. I say, TBL, you're normally TCB. What's the 411? Pick out the stems and seeds for Big Daddy Port. Let's get the straight dope. As it turns out, the next day he was set to announce the World Wide Web, when all of a sudden his silent partner, Jake Goldman, crawled into a tree and refused to come down. Jake was strange. Tim swore he was the brains behind the operation, but refused to put his name on anything because he was too shy. Tim wanted my advice on how to calm Jake down. It actually reminds me quite a bit of Ghost Trick for iOS. It's a story about a murdered detective who gets a second lease on life when he realizes he can go 4 minutes back in time and affect physical objects as a spectral phantom to prevent his own death. Ironically, it mirrors the story of the game itself. An underwhelming original for the Nintendo DS could have killed this game, but Capcom decided to give it a second life by porting it to the App Store. And it's a good thing. Flat out, the invisible touch controls on an iPad or iPhone make this game a dream to play compared to the DS. Since the levels are in real-time, accuracy counts in a major way. The gameplay is inventive. The story will loose a few belly laughs since it was sprung from the quivering brain of Phoenix Wright mastermind Shutakomi. The first 2 levels are free, but if you're like me, you'll peel off $9.99 to unlock the rest faster than it took Jake to scamper up that sycamore. Anyhow, I told Tim what he needed to hear, and the next day, he changed the world, one hypertext link at a time. As for Jake, he turned out to be a cat who invented the internet. But that's a story for the next Casual Encounter.
This has been a Casual Encounter.
The first 2 levels of Ghost Trick are available right now for free on iOS.
Oh, I love that segment so much.
I love Double L Cool L.
Oh, who doesn't? Hey, true fact, I suck at Team Fortress, but this week I'm playing along with the rest of you goons during our LAN party Shut Up and Play. Right, Glenn?
That's correct. If you want to join in tonight and school Veronica Belmont at Team Fortress 2, go into the Twitch chat room, go into Twit Live 3. You can get instructions there if you didn't RSVP in advance. We got that coming up tonight on the Twit LAN party. We've also got a grudge match, GoldenEye 64. This is going to be the epic follow-up to last week's grudge match, where a magic moment occurred, which we'll get to in a second. But for next week, February 26th, Sunday night, if you want to play with us, we're going to be playing Unreal Tournament 2004. Send an email to twitlandparty@gmail.com to RSVP for that and to get the instructions. Look forward to having you all there. But last week, I got to say the high point was Jeff Gerstmann hung out with us for the entire grudge match, Trackmania 2, and we had a little bit of magic that occurred when we played Mario Kart 64. Jeff and Brian lost, and, well, just show the video, I guess.
Oh, no!
Oh, so bashful. Look at you, you're so bashful.
Losers had to slow dance was the game on that one. And so we acted the whole thing out like it's an awkward prom. And then he gets a little bit fresh.
Wow, he's really gripping you there. He's got a hold on you.
See, this is where he went too far. I thought this was inappropriate. I'm clearly upset.
I've never seen you shine so bright.
So for all those kind of magic moments and more, I highly encourage you to stay tuned for the Twit LAN party. Shut Up and Play starting soon, right after Game On, here on Twit.
I'm not slow dancing with any of you.
Oh, come on. All right, fine.
Belmont don't roll that way.
Of course, there wouldn't be a LAN party if it weren't for the fine folks over at Doghouse Systems. They are the ones who provide these kick-ass gaming machines we're playing on tonight. In fact, they only make kick-ass machines. If anyone is caught making a regular non-ass-kicking machines, their asses are kicked.
Yes.
So when you're ready to level up, use the code GAMEON at checkout, and they will double your memory for free. You'll remember so much more. Just click on the banner ad on our Twit homepage to learn more about the Double Your Memory promotion.
Hey, Chaddix Rejoice. Here is your hero, Chad, giving us some of the feedback from the show. What you got, Chad?
Thanks so much. So to Brian's point about buying games twice, Fedofu says on Twitter, yes, I have bought games multiple times. I have bought 18 copies of Defense Grid.
What? I don't blame him. Dude, that game is so freaking good.
Why do you need
to give them away to people.
Okay.
You're Johnny Defense Grid.
I guess if you're made
Going
of money.
across America, giving out copies of Defense Grid.
I'd buy multiple games too if I was made of cash.
Well, but
whatever. What's up?
So Sir Cheeto, who is very cool.
Cheeto.
For Cheeto, but on the Vita, he says, but Veronica, will it blend the Vita? Do you have?
I think we should find out right now.
Hey,
all right,
hands off.
All right.
Okay, one more from the Lord Nikon. He says, come on, the CDI was so much fun during my childhood.
Oh, you poor guy, you had a CDI.
He loved it. He loved it. Also, with the straw poll, the reactions are in, and it looks like Brian won.
Oh, look at that.
With
WTF.
55%, with 122 votes.
Yes.
Man, I was
all the way from behind.
I was swinging that for the win the whole time.
Yes.
And then suddenly, I think Tom is the one who did me in on that. I think apparently if you have a thumbs up from Tom, that breaks
bribe
you.
went a long way.
Apparently
I'm
not.
glad. Yes, that's 2 for 2 on the Flame Wars.
I'm suitably abashed.
Good. Well, bash it up
I am
then.
abashed. And that's all I have to say about that. And with that, we end this show. That's it for us this week. We'd like to thank Sony for getting us our fabulous Vita, which I'm still going to play nonstop for review.
Steal it.
Tim Schafer and Double Fine for letting us chat them up. And most importantly, viewers like you guys, next week we have the Instance host Scott Johnson on to tell us why 2012 is the last year for MMOs as we know them.
What? I don't believe that.
That's what he says.
All right.
Which is going to be
see.
difficult for Scott because he has a show about MMOs.
Yeah, but you know what? That guy could have a show about MMOs and just switch it to bingo. He's got that magnetic personality. It's going to be a good interview.
Fantastic.
I guess that's it for this week. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Bye. Let's watch some funny videos now.
Yes.
I like how one of the things about doing Q&A from Twitter is that there's always this really distracting moment because their names are always like...
Oh, this is Reddit. It's even harder to figure out than Twitter. Yeah, the Redditors, they love their usernames.
At least they're like something really, like, what do you do when they're just really offensive? They're just like really off color. And it's like some sex toy reference and you've got to ask a serious question about it.
Usually it's a Pet-A-Bear reference.
Oh,
you put the Pet-A-Bear joke in. Yeah.
Pet-A-Bear, did you say?
I'm sorry.
In which I corrupt Tim Schafer.
Oh, God.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. We'll move on. This never happened. I had to mention Pet-A-Bear.
That's fine.
Always with the Pet-A-Bear.
Is that like a guy's into baby bears?
Don't.
Oh, you explained Pet-A-Bear?
I like you best that way.
Local news will tell you.
So what do you want me to do for the toss?
That's not something I want to Google, though, right?
No, please don't. No.
I didn't know you were
I'm
going to
really
start.
sorry I even said it now.
You're so ashamed.
Veronica Belmont's Pet-A-Bears. Is that like one of those places where you order a bear online and you put the pieces together so you can pet it?
No.
Why are you into it?
I'm not into it.
Why'd you bring it up?
Make it stop.
Weird. Okay.
Veronica Trollbot.
That is what I associate Reddit with in my mind. Okay.